On this edition of Falmouth in Focus, a deep-pocketed donation brings Falmouth a whole lot closer to having a YMCA of its own. Marine scientists map area waterways with a self-steering mini boat that can fit in the back of a pickup truck. And Police Chief Lourie shares plans for body cams and station improvements in a new FCTV member talk show. This is Falmouth in Focus, and it starts right now. Hello and welcome to Falmouth in Focus, our bi-monthly roundup of local events and FCTV member engagement with the community. I'm Michael Kasparian. Eileen Preston is on assignment, so I'll be covering the show myself today. Falmouth and the Upper Cape are a very big step closer to getting their own YMCA. YMCA Cape Cod announced this week it is receiving a private donation of $10 million towards construction of the facility. It's the single biggest donation the Cape Y has ever received. Cape YMCA CEO Stacy Pugh spoke to FCTV.
The name of the facility will be the Don and Dottie YMCA. And Don and Dottie are Don's parents. And so this is honoring them. It is a family legacy that they are building in honor of Don's parents. So it's Don and Pamela Burks Smith, who are honoring Don's parents. I mean, this has been 15 years in the making. And I don't know, we've had early adopters and believers all along, but this one really makes it so real. Don and Pamela getting behind this project. It's transforming the campaign, and it will transform the community. I will remember the moment probably for the rest of my life, because it was, sort of the first opportunity to meet this fabulous couple through someone, and they really spoke about this level gift in that meeting, and we definitely didn't have any idea they were thinking at this level. So it was awe-inspiring is what he keeps saying. Is I remember, just crying really in the moment, tears of joy.
The Smith family that made that huge donation owns hundreds of Valvoline franchises across the country, including the one just around the corner from the FCTV studios. The YMCA effort is receiving state funding as well, to the tune of $60,000, recently secured by State Senator Susan Moran and Representative Dylan Fernandez.
We were talking about collaboration and the funding that Representative Dylan Fernandez and I brought to the project for the Cape Cod Wise collaboration with community health. Some money for permitting and moving the project in Falmouth is coming our way.
And we're finally going to have an Upper Cape Y facility with a pool, with workout space, a really awesome spot. And then hopefully that'll start breaking ground next year. And then and components of that, it's going to have childcare as well as a health center. And this is going to be one of the first models in our region where we have both a health center and a Y in the same building. So that's really important.
And we'll be able to do joint programming with the YMCA. You'll be able to see your primary care provider, work on your wellness activities, including use of a gym, the pool, joint exercise facilities, joint programs such as diabetes prevention, working on nutritional goals, working on mental health, just a whole host of medical programs, I'll say, that are facilitated through the partnership with the YMCA.
The new Y is set to be located at 485 Brick Kiln Road, close to Falmouth High School. A planning board hearing is scheduled for November 12th. Fall town meeting is almost upon us. It begins Monday, November 18th, and there are a total of 36 articles on the warrant. Some are expected to generate more debate than others, and we wanted to highlight those for you right now.
Article 15 proposes to alter the zoning code to enforce affordable housing options, increase residential density, and promote mixed-use developments in designated business zones. Article 23 is a request of $1,900,000 for a urine diversion pilot project that aims to reduce the amount of nitrogen and phosphorus in Falmouth waters. And two articles, 32 and 33, deal with rental properties. Article 32 proposes short-term rental regulations that would require property owners to obtain an annual license and sets out compliance requirements and inspection protocols. Lastly, Article 33 deals with long-term rentals and proposes that property owners register their rental properties with the health agent, who will then determine occupancy limits based on size and applicable codes.
There's more to come, including a small autonomous boat that's gathering big data for our local estuaries.
A message from the Upper Cape Women's Coalition.
We firmly believe that conflicts within our homes, our community, and our country can be resolved by listening to each other, learning from each other, and respecting each other.
Renewed efforts to ensure that women's lives are safe, free of fear, intimidation, and violence in our homes, at work, and in our neighborhoods, no matter where we're from, whom we love, or how we identify.
Women's bodies are respected. A healthcare system that takes our needs seriously, from research to treatment to supporting women making decisions about when and if to start a family.
Women's work is valued. We are paid and promoted equally, so we are able to retire with dignity. Women's families are supported. Policies allowing women to make responsible decisions between family and work. Women are represented from school boards to the White House, and all votes are protected and counted.
We send you warm wishes to all.
Falmouth Bikeways Committee recently honored the late Kevin Lynch with a new plaque at the Depot Road crossing on the Shining Sea Bikeway. Kevin was a longtime town meeting member and a driving force behind the Bikeway's extension.
Kevin was a helicopter pilot. He got 3 distinguished flying crosses in Vietnam for his bravery. He flew Hueys in Vietnam, and then flew Black Hawk helicopters here at Otis for many years in the Air National Guard. He did a lot in Falmouth, but the reason why we're right here, and this is an appropriate location, in that I think Kevin's legacy in a physical sense from the bikeways is that he was the man who pushed through the initial extension of the bike path from Locust Street down to what we call Locust Street, and most people call Woods Hole Road, up to Skating Lane, which is just where the Steamship Authority parking lot is. And then the next phase was up to Carlson Lane. But Kevin was really the person that made that happen. And so he made a major contribution.
This is really terrific because the bike path is terrific. But we had a little bit of a problem that Kevin helped solve. Somebody who thought he knew how to build a bike path, got the low bid, was hired. And about 2 or 3 weeks into when he started to extend the bike path, he left and claimed bankruptcy. So this is when Kevin worked through something and got the town to pick up the parts and put the extension, keep it moving.
his legacy is in many places around town. The bike path is just one of them, but FCTV could not have functioned without him. And there were times when I was doing something else at FCTV, I was being interviewed for something, and Kevin was the guy behind the camera filming me. So he was just one of those people who stepped in whenever there was a need, and I'm really honored that I got to call him a friend.
Kevin was such a humble person. I had nominated him for numerous awards. One was through an organization that I'm part of, the Alliance for Community Media. And I remember Kevin just, not believing that he, deserved it when he so deserved it. He so deserves this and so much more for everything he's done. Being a part of FCTV, being part of the Bikeways Committee, being on the Cable Advisory Committee. And he never really asked for any accolades. He'd probably be standing here crying, Betty, as you know. He was a very emotional person who had a really big heart.
Kevin was insatiably curious and an adventurer at heart. The bicycle was a perfect vehicle for his energies, as was a 13,000-pound Black Hawk helicopter. He took us on numerous Shining Sea bike path adventures, which include many side trips on brambled and questionable paths. We always emerged scratched but enriched. There was never a direct line for Kevin, nor was there lack of stories, as you all know, to go with the trip. Bike rides around town, again, no straight lines here, included his vision for new trails and the challenges to overcome for just one more connection. The stories were often accompanied by his familiar grin and twinkle in his eye, indicating that he was working on making it a surmountable challenge.
Kevin didn't do it alone. He had a lot of people that was helping him do whatever he was doing. He'd bring maps home, and he'd work with the committee, the Bikeway Committee, and even FCTV. He really didn't do it alone. There was a teamwork involved in this. So I'm sure he really, is looking down now, and he's really very humbled, and he's smiling too because he's not expecting this at all. But thank you guys. All right.
Want to read what it says?
Beautiful.
The Kevin Lynch Pathway in memory of Kevin Lynch, whose persistence, advocacy led the extension of the bike path to Carlson Lane. Friends of Falmouth Bikeways 2024.
Kevin Lynch left an indelible mark on our community, including here at FCTV. Thanks, Kevin. Well, moving from A to B is getting a bit trickier for some travelers in town. A mile-long stretch of the Shining Sea Bikeway is closed for utility work. Eversource says crews are installing a series of manholes and conduits between Terhune Drive and Locust Street. This work will continue through the winter months and is anticipated to be completed by spring of 2025. One-lane alternating traffic continues on Gifford Street between Pine Valley Drive at Brick Kiln Road between the hours of 7 o'clock a.m. and 4 o'clock p.m., with the exception of holidays. National Grid contractors are replacing the existing gas main with a new 6-inch main. Work is expected to continue into the winter. Trucks are not being allowed on Main Street between Palmer Avenue and Gifford Street unless they're making local deliveries. Through truck route signs have been posted leading trucks away from the downtown area. The Wacoit Bay National Estuarine Reserve showed off a cool new device recently. It's called an Autonomous Surface Vehicle, or ASV. It looks a bit like a model boat, and you can control its movement with a standard video game controller. But the data it collects makes some very serious science possible. Here's a closer look.
We here at the Wacoit Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve have a benthic mapping workshop going on where the reserve has brought in folks to talk about what solutions classification and data can tell us. This cool instrument here, this autonomous surface vehicle, is helping us demonstrate mapping side scan sonar data, in this case, and bathymetry. And then we're going back and talking about putting together a framework for mapping plans for this reserve and the 29 reserves like it around our system that NOAA partners.
So you guys are welcome to come and look at it up close.
It's pretty easy to lift with about 2 people. There are handles on each side. So it really allows us to get into tighter areas that larger boats can't get into.
It's a sonar that looks out from your boat, and you can see left and right and see structures away from your boat. So it's more of a search pattern rather than a bathymetry that looks straight down. A lot of those tight spaces are really where a lot of the oysters reside, small nurseries for fish, sea breaks for buildings in residential areas, also living shoreline. So using this technology to monitor those essential habitats, I think, is the biggest application.
We're looking at it for things like places for eelgrass restoration suitability, where there's currently a thick layer of macroalgae on the bottom here. If you've tried to put an anchor down, a Danforth in here, you will find it slides along this. We don't know the extent of that, the seasonal or how that changes over time, and so we can answer those kind of questions with some of this maps.
When it's not running autonomously, we can use this controller to maneuver the boat. It is fun.
It's actually pretty responsive on the throttle.
The boat itself is named Calypso. That was the name of the research vessel that Jacques Cousteau owned. So it's very fitting that we are the Jacques Cousteau Reserve and our boat is named the Calypso.
FCTV is very proud of its members and the community-driven programs they produce. One member, Richard Doobie, has been knocking it out of the park lately with his talk show, Think About It. In his last episode, he chatted with Falmouth Police Chief Chief Lourie, and no subject was off limits, including the condition of the station he inherited and a new location and progress on our new police station. And the chief's thoughts on our peace officers wearing body cameras starting in spring 2025.
I was affirmed by the board in early June. The first thing I did when I left is Lieutenant Doyle gave me a tour of the station. And yeah, there's a word hanging up in my deputy chief's office. It's been hanging since I started. What did the chief think of the building? He was appalled. You're right. Everything you said is true, and now it's way too small. I got one urinal on the first floor, and I got a line, waiting, because
you gave up your office, right?
Because I gave up my conference room, So it's too small. The water's pouring in, like you said. It was gross. I mean, we spent thousands of dollars to clean it, and it's funny. Nancy, the chair of the select board, she laughs when I say it, but it's a clean gross now. And we're doing some things to make it a little bit better. We moved some office space around. Some of the office furniture we're replacing, we're just going to take this with us, hopefully when we move, because they did have some money that was put aside. The problem is they put out to do some enhancements to the station. It wasn't enough money, and then COVID happened. Yeah. So COVID happens, and it's like it's all hands on deck. And I equate this to, I use this all the time, is you buy a house next to the train tracks, eventually it doesn't wake you up. And you just don't know any better. You look at the mess and you just don't, and then you have a new person come in
You're being
and
very
evaluate.
generous.
And you evaluate and you say, this is unacceptable. And now this will be my 4th building project. My team, my staff is excited. The town manager's office has been great. We hired an OPM, project management company. They put out for an architect, and hopefully in 2 weeks we'll pick the architect and then figure out where we're going to put this and how big is it going to be. The OPM, we're working on getting the architect and the OPM and us will work together to identify a site. And then the scope of the building.
Where are you on site identification?
So there's 3 or 4 different sites all around town, and we'll evaluate all of those, and hopefully with the professionals, the architect and the OPM, will identify an area. Yeah. In a perfect world, I would like it to be centrally located. I don't think we need to be downtown. Especially now with all the housing that they're building in our general area, trying to get out
where it would be.
Trying to get out is going to be tough. So there's been talk about different locations. It could be the current school administration building. It could be down by where the high school is. Down in that area of town. So there's a few sites that we'll look at, we'll evaluate, and the professionals will say this has the space and it's a centrally located place, because most of the time we're on the road. So it doesn't. We don't necessarily have to be downtown, but we also have to be accessible for people that want to walk in. If there's an officer under my watch that's saying, "Hey, wearing a body camera is going to change the way I'm going to do my job," that's the officer I want wearing it. Yeah. So you should be governing yourself now as if you're constantly being recorded. Okay. And that's what I hire people with a very high level of integrity. They're doing things right when no one's watching. Yeah. But I think they're a good thing, and I can tell you, we live in a litigious society. I cannot tell you how many complaints went away and how many lawsuits we averted because the body-worn camera doesn't lie.
Yeah.
And if you have to discipline someone over it, it's a small percentage. And usually it's just corrective action.
Think About It will indeed give you plenty to think about. And the show is running frequently on FCTV's cable and streaming platforms. Check fctv.org/watch to find out when you can catch the next episode. And Falmouth in Focus is back in a moment with some spooky dog walkers and some wicked interesting history.
Attention all critter lovers, pet owners, and nature enthusiasts. The gallery at FCTV is calling for artists of all ages and skill levels to submit their animal-inspired artwork for our January-February exhibit, Paws, Claws, and what have you. Whether your work celebrates wild creatures, beloved pets, or mythical beasts, we want to see it. Paint, draw, sculpt, or snap. All mediums are welcome. Show us your unique take on the animals that bring joy and wonder to our lives. Submit your work now, and let's fill the gallery with paws, claws, and pure creativity. For details, contact Marcia at fctv.org or go to fctv.org/paws.
Dog lovers and their furry friends came together for a Halloween costume contest at Falmouth Dog Park recently. Pets wagged and owners walked as they vied for the prize in a festive atmosphere.
She absolutely loves wearing costumes, and she has been wearing them for almost 9 years now.
Yep. She likes
Yeah,
to
she
wear
likes to
sweaters
wear
and pajamas
costumes
for
and
the
sweaters and
holidays.
pajamas and-
I think right now she'd say, I was very patient for the last hour and I want to play. But overall, she's a big sport. She's really good about it. We've had her in some heavy-duty costumes over the years. We always look for fun-themed costumes, and with the World Series and everything kicking off, we thought this would be a fun one.
Yeah.
Families gathered at the Falmouth Museum's On the Green for the sold-out Wicked at Wicks event, a Halloween celebration filled with festive fun. Children enjoyed trick-or-treating through historic properties, pumpkin painting, storytelling, and a lively costume parade.
It's very well attended, especially on a nice day like tonight. I'm sure we'll get probably 50 or more kids and their families. They come dressed up, the parents come dressed up. It's really well attended. It gives the little kids an experience around the Historical Society, hoping they'll come back later in life, and throughout their life they'll be able to volunteer and learn about the history of Falmouth.
That's going to wrap up our show for the moment. I'm Michael Kasparian, here on behalf of Eileen Preston. Until next time, we'll see you around town.
Bye.